Falklands, or if you live in any of these countries, the Las Malvinas. Now these islands are controlled by the UK, but Argentina, a country not too far away from the Falklands, laid claims to them. There are a long history to the Falklands, but you can watch other things for that. Right now, we're here to focus on the Falkland Wars, or if you're in, once again, these countries, Las Malvinas War. So let's go back to 1981. The US-backed military just overthrew the government, putting Leopold Galtieri, I probably pronounced that very wrong, in charge. Since he was a backed military dictatorship, he had no clue on how to run a country. Didn't know how to make a good economy, people were mad at him. So what do? Everyone hates you, your economy is shit. You can only do one thing in this situation. That's right, you start a war to distract people from the dying economy. The Argentines, thinking that the UK wouldn't do anything because they were fighting over an island 7,000 miles away from the mainland, and also the UK was planning on cutting back on the military spending. So the Argentines thought this would be a perfect chance to strike at the Falklands. At first, the Argentines took South Georgia and the Sandwich Islands. I'm not fucking kidding. Finally, on April 2nd, 1982, they invaded the Falklands. They sent 600 troops to the island, mostly being conscripts. The British did have an army there, but it was very tiny compared to the Argentinian army. When news first broke in Argentina, we were excited to hear that the Falklands were now back in Argentinian hands. And even though the Argentinians thought that the UK would do nothing, and the Argentines thought that the UK would just say, we were bound to lose them any day. So were they right? No. The lady in charge of the UK at the time was Margaret Thatcher. I think we know what Margaret Thatcher does when this island 7,000 miles away gets invaded. That's right, they retake it, and the UK started to prepare for the invasion of the Falklands. When news first broke in the UK, Margaret Thatcher basically became a real-life soy drag. So, what they first did, it was make an exclusion zone around the island. If you are in the circle, you will be shot and most likely killed. Soon, the UK sent out their navy to the Falkland Islands, using Ascension Island as a landing ground to invade and retake the island. First needed naval supremacy. They got it, of course, pretty easily, because, it's kind of the UK. The highest death toll of the war actually happened during this time, where the UK shot down an Argentinian boat. Kind of controversial, though, because it was outside of the exclusion zone. The Argentines got really mad, basically saying, no, you can't do that, it's really illegal. And the UK really didn't care. Because of the sinking, the Argentine Navy left the island, giving control to the UK. After they took the seas, they needed air superiority. The Argentines controlled the air bases on the Falklands, but because they controlled the air bases, the Argentines were able to shoot down many planes and sink a lot of ships. The British really couldn't get the air superiority, so they had to land without it. Before they took the islands, they did a raid on the small island of Pebble Island. After that, the British ships sailed in between the islands to take out any Argentinian supply ships, and now came the time to actually start the invasion. The British decided to use San Carlos as their land base, and on the 21st of May, the invasion of San Carlos started. The Argentinian planes tried to take out as many British ships as possible. Their feats were ineffective because soon the British were actually able to take air supremacy. Because of the air supremacy, the British were now able to land. They were able to form a beachhead on San Carlos, and soon they started to move out of the beachhead. They used one division to try and take Port Stanley, and the other to take Goose Green. The British had highly skilled marines, while the Argentines mostly had conscripts, meaning they could win a 1-to-3 ratio. Soon after this, the longest battle of the war on May 28th happened. It was a 14-hour battle, and it was fought at the city of Goose Green. The Argentines took 55 casualties, and over 900 surrendered, and the British only took 18 casualties. Meanwhile, the assault towards Port Stanley had begun. At first, they took the mountain. They were able to take the mountain, and after they took the mountain, the Battle of Wireless Ridge started, and the British won this battle. And with this win by the British, the Argentines had no other choice to surrender. And on June 14th, the war was finally over. 2-month-long war was no easy war for both sides. Hundreds of casualties taken on both sides, with Argentina making up most of the casualties. And because of the war, there are many minefields on the Falklands. Argentina, after surrendering on June 14th, the people of Argentina were mad that the president would allow the Malvinas to be taken back by the British. So in 1983, the Argentines overthrew their government and installing free elections. But the Argentines never stopped claiming the islands, and they still claim the Malvinas or Falklands to this day. In England, on the other hand, its popularity soared in the election. And in 1983, the elections of 1983 resulted in a landslide victory for Thatcher's party. So after all of this, who really owns the Falklands? Well, most of the world says that the Argentines claims it, but the citizens of the Falklands say that it's British. An election that happened in the 2000s, which had 1,500 people vote for stay in Britain, and only 3 people to vote for Argentina. So really, at the end of the day, there is no answer. But at this current point, the owner of the Falklands are the British. Or is it? The developers of the first Falkland War has decided to make a second Falkland War in 2036. So stay tuned.